Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Before we go live as usual, I always like to check to make sure we are live in case we don't have anyone join us that we know that we're live, and also check the sound. So let's see before we go live. We don't have anyone join us that we know that we're live. All right, so it seems like the sound is doing good. If anything happens during the show, please let me know. Um, and yeah, so I'm glad to be back on this Sunday. I have a lot of stuff going on, so I apologize about last Sunday, and I apologize, about anything today. It's just a lot of things are going on. So, hey, what's going on, MHO8? Thanks for saying the sounds good, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate you joining me on this Sunday. And before we get started, I am going to put on the screen in regards to the interest rates real quick, because we all know, as mentioned in the last live, that we did get the Feds. They did a base point reduction as far as the 0.25 base points. Also, recently, they said the rates went back up because of what Jerome Powell, the Fed director, had stated in regards to possible cut or not in December. So because of that, the market had adjusted in regards to the mortgage rates. Most people were kind of hoping and looking forward to possibly the rates dropping into the mid fives. However, we're still at that low six, maybe mid sixes, depending on where you're at as far as your credit score, your debt to income ratio, and all those different factors kind of make up that interest rate. So as of right now, hey, what's going on, Dad? As of right now, we are at current today, and again, interest rates change daily, weekly. We're at the 30-year fixed, the conventional at 6.32. Again, this is a national average. This does not mean this is what you'll see, because everybody's situation is differs. We have a 15-year conventional 5.82. We have a jumbo loan, a 30-year 6.4. This arm right here is 6.01. We have a 30-year FHA fixed at 6.3, at 6.03, and a 30-year VA at a 6.04. As you can see, the plus signs right here, meaning that those rates adjusted up. This one adjusted down in a good way. This adjusted up. So, and then these did not move at all. So I just wanted to run real quick in regards to the interest rates. If anybody had been watching that or trying to see what's going on in regards to those interest rates, again, that is an average and it can change depending on your situation. All right. So, and while we're on the interest rates, before we get into the new construction situation, we're going to talk a little bit about the President Trump administration in regards to a 50-year mortgage. Did this block me from the page? Let's see. So I don't know how you guys feel in regards to a 50-year mortgage, but Bill Pulte, the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, the FHFA, let me see if I can he suggested a 50-year mortgage in regards to what's happening in the economy when it comes to home ownership and people not being able to afford their mortgage. He suggested maybe stretch out those payments a little longer, which I don't suggest as a good situation, because of course we know as we stretch payments out, that interest rate is definitely going to be bigger. MHOA says, CNN says there's a deal for the shutdown. I pray there's a deal for the shutdown, MHOA, because we definitely need to make sure people are getting paid who are currently working. They have to go to work day in and day out without getting any pay, and I don't feel like there's no fair. That it's not fair that Congress can continue to get paid, but they haven't completed their job and made sure everything, was laid out correctly before they decided to shut down the government, and for them to go days on and days out without coming to a consensus as far as making sure everything is laid out accordingly, I should say. I think that they need to come to a deal, and they need to make sure it makes sense, of course, for the American people, and then also get these workers back to getting a paycheck, because we cannot allow them to continue to go on without working without a paycheck, which is unfair to to their constituents and to the American people. So hopefully that is the case, MHOA, because we need it for the holidays. We need these people to be able to gather around their families, be able to eat comfortably, and share in joy during the holiday season. So let's jump into this 50-year mortgage, and you guys let me know your thoughts. There's so many daggone things on the screen, so it'll be popping out. But it says housing director confirms administration working on a 50-year mortgage after Trump hint. All right, it says, let me get all these daggone pop-ups. Federal Housing Finance Agency FHFA Director Bill Pulte on Saturday said the Trump administration is working on a plan to introduce a 50-year mortgage term for home buyers. Thanks to President Trump, we are indeed working on the 50-year mortgage, a complete game changer, Pulte wrote in a statement on social platform X. Sorry. It said, let's keep going. It says the administration that oversaw the New Deal established the 30-year mortgage standard to help citizens recover from the Great Depression. So this right here is interesting when they're saying they created this 30-year mortgage standard in regards to the Great Depression. So are you guys signaling, as we've been kind of saying, or as American people, some of us have been saying, not everybody, that we're in some type of recession? I've been saying that if things keep going the way it goes, we'll end up falling into a Great Depression. Jesus, my nose itching. Sorry. So for it to be almost juxtaposing, right? It says follow Truth Social post by President Trump in an earlier day where he shared a graphic posing an image of him next to one of the former President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The administration that oversaw the New Deal established a 30-year mortgage standard to help citizens recover from the Great Depression. And so now I think it's very interesting and ironic that you guys are working on a 50-year mortgage standard out of a time where you're all saying that everything is going great, the economy is doing well, there's no need to worry. Things are as greater than it's ever been. Oh, make America great again, all these type of sayings and everything that's going out. But now you're developing a 50-year mortgage standard when that was something in which stated in this, this article, and I would have to do further research in regards to this. But during that Roosevelt period of time, they put in place a 30-year mortgage standard to help recover from a Great Depression. So where are we at? Let's be truthful. Let's uncover the truth in regards to our citizens. Letting our citizens know the truth of what's happening in the economy. MHOA said, why not a 70-year mortgage? Makes no financial sense. Exactly. Makes no financial sense in regards to continuing longer mortgage periods, which would increase, of course, interest, right? The longer the mortgage, you stretch the payments out further, which in totality makes you pay more interest on a loan. Even if you did a car loan, a home loan, a student loan, whatever it is, the longer you stretch out these standards or these payments per se, it accrues more interest over time. He says 30-year barely makes sense. So exactly. So for them to be able to try to change those standards again, it's signaling something else that they're not being truthful with. And of course, most of us, average Americans that are seeing what's happening around us, because we do have some people, because even when I was younger, you live in a sense of oblivious. Like, I don't want to say in space, but you're not really seeing what's happening around you when you're a little younger in age, because you're growing into yourself, you're becoming yourself, you're establishing yourself, and so you're just making moves according to how you want your future to go. So you're not really taking in the economy, the economic decisions and the landscapes of what's kind of going on around you. Let's say it says, similarly, Trump campaigned on creating affordability for a younger generation last year, but the president has faced headwinds on the subject more recently as prices rise. Google searches for help with mortgage recently climbed to their highest level since 2009, while adjustable rate mortgages, or ARMs, have also been trending. ARMs made up about 10% of all mortgage applications in September, the highest share in nearly 2 years, and well above the post-2008 average of 6%, according to Mortgage Bankers Association. And I even kind of relate these adjustable ARMs to the buy downs that some of these builders were doing. These new construction builders were doing like buy downs. It's not similar, but it kind of gives me the same type of feeling as far as buying down the rate for a certain period of time and adjusting accordingly. So a 2-1 buy down. So let's say they're giving 4% for a 2-1 buy down. The first year you'll be at 4%. The second year you'll be at 5%. And then the third, the final year per se, they'll lock you in. Some of them will lock you in at whatever rate it is, 6%. Some of them will say it'll adjust according to the market rate. But it's very interesting. It's a lot going on, and that's the purpose of having these discussions, having these live chats about real estate, to see how you guys are feeling, see how you guys are testing out this landscape when it comes to real estate, because a lot of things are moving. There's a lot of moving parts happening. Hey, what's going on, David? What's going on? He said the first 5 years go all toward interest, so you assume all the risk of home ownership and gain very little equity. Exactly. So for you to not, gain but so much equity, like you said, and paying more of that interest in those first 5 years, if we stretch out to a 50-year mortgage standard, how many years would that be? Would it be the first 10 years? Very interesting. MHOH said, I missed it up here. Sorry, guys, I didn't miss this one. My dad said exactly, interest rates would be more. And then MHOH said, would new construction last 50 years? I feel like new construction might last, maybe it might last 60 years. I don't know, because with new construction, especially if they're buying down the interest rate for you, if they're continuing these buy downs, technically most people don't realize once you buy down the interest rate, give all these incentives, some of these people are actually underwater according to how the economy is kind of moving. If the economy is not shifting and you're not seeing a great appreciation of equity, and typically most people, a standard housing market, you would see ebbs and flows, right? You would see maybe gaining about 5% a year per se, maybe 2%, 3%, depending on where you're at. I've even seen some markets where there's no appreciation, where it's because most people are not selling in those areas. So you can't really see how the market is trending. You can't really see the appreciation value, because a lot of people will buy these homes and they'll stay put and they won't move. So you don't know how an appraiser is going to appraise the things, how the equity has shifted, if it went up, if it went down. You have a lot of different things. And then when just looking back to the sense of, depending on what time frame we're in, we know that real estate does not always appreciate. We know we have markets when it depreciates, which happened in 2007, 2008, 2009, right? That we saw that depreciation of real estate. So we're kind of in the market right now. It has yet to fully depreciate as far as real estate. We're stabilizing right now, but we are seeing softening in some areas, which is making it harder for some people who are trying to sell now to sell their house. So if you add on a 50-year mortgage, where does that leave people as far as when it comes to, I don't really want to say appreciation, but where does it leave them when it comes to going forward? Like David said, the interest on the loans and all those different things. MHOH said, when I went into my 15-year, interest was only half. Now I'm only paying about $700 a year in interest. Okay, wow. So you're still paying interest, but you're only paying $700 a year. So that's not bad. Hey, what's going on, Croy Clark? So good to see you. Hope you're well. Hope you are well as well. And I'm glad you made it back, if you made it back from your trip yet, from Georgia. And then let me see. MHOH said, the economy. I was offered early retirement last week. Oh wow. So are they trying to get rid of you, MHOH? Don't let them throw you out. Don't let them throw you out. Keep it going. David said, what happens when they have to sell after 1 or 2 years and the market takes a dip? They are screwed. Exactly, David. And this is the conversation that I'm having with people, because I've have conversations with sellers that want to sell because they feel like they have buyer's remorse. They feel like they're maybe like this one seller, their HOH was going up. They end up finding out that a lot of the people in the community were not paying their HOA dues. So they had a meeting with the HOA management company, and they said, if people don't start paying their dues, we're going to have to one, put liens against their properties, and two, we're going to have to facilitate that or do something in regards to pushing those extra monies per se towards you guys, so you can make up the difference, so we can have those reserves. And so it puts everybody in a bad situation, and that's what we have to be very careful of. I pray that my computer don't go off right now. All of a sudden a big gust of wind just went by, and rain, looks like it's raining, and my computer just glitched. So hopefully it doesn't go out, you guys. Hopefully we'll have a good live. David said it hurts the very people they intend to help. Exactly, David. Exactly. Corey said, yes, had so much fun in Georgia. Good. I'm glad you had fun in Georgia, Croy. All right. And so this is the 50-year mortgage situation. If you guys have been hearing about it, says still home prices and interest rates remain relatively high. So we already know that. We're not going to run through that again because we know what we're seeing in the economy. It says Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are doing very well, though throwing off a lot of cash, and the time would seem to be right. Stay tuned. He said ahead. So basically, this is having a conversation. My computer keeps flinching. I'm kind of scared, but we're going to get through this. Basically, this is just having this conversation in regards to this 50-year mortgage. Let me know you guys. Let me know your thoughts, everybody. In regards to that 50-year mortgage. Hopefully, let's see what's going on. All right. Now my computer is buffering. I apologize, you guys going live tonight. Please don't mind what's happening. There's a lot going on. But we're going to make it through this live. David said, at least affordability is being discussed. Yeah, I agree, David. At least affordability is being discussed. Of course, like I tell most people, right? The pandemic helped to create an inflation rate at a capacity that most people cannot keep up with. Most average Americans cannot keep up with it. And going forward, most generations that are younger that want to buy will not be able to afford it if it keeps going forward the way it kind of went during that pandemic era. Because everybody will not become a millionaire. Unfortunately, I would love to be a millionaire, but I'm not, right? Everybody will not become a millionaire. And with that being said, we have to seek more affordable options for our younger generations. It's great to live in the now. However, we need to live also in the future where we allow other generations to be able to purchase real estate. And then on top of that, when people who had real estate pass away going forward, what happens when these taxes become so exorbitant? When this home insurance becomes exacerbates and all these things happen in regards to the prices, and this younger generation who's barely being able to get their foot in the door and these jobs are not paying that well, how will they be able to afford to keep that up? Even if a parent passed down a home to them that's fully paid off mortgage wise, if the property taxes keep going up, if the home insurance keep going up, if HOA costs keep going up, and if all this stuff around them keeps going up, how will they be able to afford it if they're barely working a minimum wage job? And most people enter into the job market typically around $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, right? No one is I'm not going to say it's rare because some younger people do if they're doctors, if they depend on what practices or what majors or what careers they kind of jump into. But most Americans will go into a job that's typically paying minimum wage or a lower salary amount, which in turn does not allow for them to be able to pay inflated prices if they're not comparable, right? The median age of the first-time home buyer is 40 years old now. Exactly, David. The median age is 40 years old now. So that kind of goes hand in hand too. Like I said, if these younger children, let's say a parent passes away or somebody passes that and they're 20 or 30 years old, and let's just say even if the parents still had a mortgage on the house, or even, like I said, even if it's paid off, how do they afford it at the rate as far as what they're making now? I think zoning is a large part of the affordable housing problem. Yes, zoning is definitely every piece of real estate, every part of real estate plays a part in the affordability crisis. We definitely have, I know down here in Georgia, there are some areas that it takes a long time to get the zoning, the permits, everything kind of passed. So zoning is a problem too. How you can zone the areas, what amount of density can be there. Zoning can be a problem as far as affordability as well. So I agree, MHOA. David said only 21% of buyers were first-time home buyers, an all-time low. 15 years ago, it was near 40% of buyers were first-time home buyers. Exactly. And so, like you said, David, and MHOA and Croy and my dad, it's the affordability that now you're seeing it, and it's showing up in the data, it's showing up in numbers, where you have lesser first-time home buyers, you have older age first-time home buyers, when typically most people, they might explore buying a house in their middle to late 20s or early 30s. And now you have people not buying until they're 40, 45. And then you have the second time home buyers that are 60s in their 60s. So you have a lot of different things kind of happening in the market now. And it's kind of crazy. It's really crazy. So we're going to jump over to Zillow real quick. I just wanted to mention this as well. And I know this is probably all over the place, but this is a conversation we had before. And then we're going to head into this new construction situation. I don't know if it's happening in your area, but in my area, this has been occurring in regards to these smaller buildings when it comes to new construction. You have to keep your hand, your hand and eyes. Well, I would say you have to keep your eyes, on the prize as far as when your stuff is being built with a smaller builder, even the bigger builders too. To make sure things are being built correctly and that no crazy stuff is going on behind the scenes. MHOA said, just for fun, watched an old newscast from 1983. Affordable housing was a story. Wow. So that's funny. It's almost like is what they said. History repeats itself. So we're repeating ourselves, right? And that's what I said I'm kind of scared of, like I mentioned earlier, and they were kind of saying that article about the Great Depression and different things like that. I'm like, we really are literally repeating ourselves as far as history. And it's kind of crazy that you would think some of these people who were born in those eras, even if they were younger, they would know we went down this path before. We don't want to travel down it again. How do we not make this mistake again? However, it seems like people love to repeat themselves. That's why that famous saying, history repeats itself. David said, I think we have multi-generational households. Yes, we do. We definitely have multi-generational households. I'm actually not opposed to multi-generational households. I feel like some countries and some ethnic backgrounds, they understand the purpose of living in community and understand the purpose of multi-generational households. Not only does it help to foster a greater support system for your children and the whole factor of the family, but it also creates a space where you can be able to save and financially, invest and put your money in spaces that make sense. So I'm a fan of multi-generational households. And in America, we have a lot of the saying where once you become a certain age, you get out your house, you become an adult, you go live by yourself, you grown, you do this, you do that. And it does kind of hinder us sometimes as people in America, because the purpose of us being on earth and the purpose of God putting many people on earth is for us to share in space, right? So for us to feel like we need to go out and be by ourselves and all this all the time is really messing us up a little bit. So I think we might, being able to grow back in that space of the multi-generational households, it might do well for for communion, for family, for I don't want to say friends, but more of like the family structure, right? It's happening now, David, in PA and Jersey. I think you will also have folks move into the Midwest and more affordable markets. I agree, David. You definitely will have people shifting, trying to find jobs in more affordable markets, which in turn will probably raise those prices in those markets. As we know, as more people come, as a demand, as an influx of people go to spaces, it raises the price points. That's what happened down here in the Metro Atlanta area, right? As so many people shift them up north or west to come down here, it has risen the price points. And most people that relocate down here or look for property down here, they're always amazed at how expensive it is to live within this Atlanta or Metro Atlanta area. So it definitely will have people shifting, and it will eventually raise the prices as well. MHOH said, in a multi-generational household, when Junior scores a job on Portland, does the whole family have to move? I don't know. It depends on if Junior wants to go out there and see how it is to live and be in that space of the job in Portland. And then if it works, then maybe this family shifts, right? We have that all the time to happen with some families, right? They might move from overseas. They might say, okay, the wife will go first and then the husband will come later, or the husband will go first and the wife will come later. So, you never know. He said, LOL, Beverly Hillbillies. So you never know. All right, so let's kind of jump into this Zillow thing real quick, and then we'll jump onto the main focus of this live in regards to this new construction down here that's happening in the Metro Atlanta area. And then that's the reason why I put, new construction nightmare and real estate chaos, because there's a lot of moving parts happening right now in real estate. And so we're just trying to stay abreast of what's kind of going on. So if you guys don't know, Zillow is in another lawsuit. And I didn't want to make another video particularly just about Zillow again, because I don't want them to think that I keep, that I'm trying to attack them. So I was like, let me just throw this into this live so they don't feel like I'm attacking them. It says Zillow accused of using kickbacks to boost mortgage business. And this is something that I was kind of mentioning on one of the other lives that I was like, this is going to be a problem in regards to Zillow. It says new lawsuit claims Zillow tied access to its premier agent and flex leads to referrals for Zillow home loans in violation of state and federal laws. Zillow is facing a class action lawsuit that claims that the company used its powerful lead generation programs to steer home buyers towards its own mortgage business and reward agents who went along. The complaint filed November 7th in federal court in Seattle alleges that Zillow violated federal and state consumer protection laws by creating a system of kickbacks and incentives for agents linking Zillow home loan referrals to leads, which is true. Specifically, the law claims Zillow's actions violate the Real Estate, which is the RESPA Act, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, which is RESPA, the Washington Consumer Protection Act, as well as aiding and abetting breaches of fiduciary duty by real estate agents. A closer look at the allegations, Zillow is accused of pressuring agents in its Premier and Agent Flex programs to steer buyers to Zillow home loans for pre-approval. This is true. So the reason why I'm talking about this and I know about this is because most brokerages do have they might work with some Zillow lead sources and teams. And my brokerage has this, and I, to be open and honest, and I think we talked about this on the other live, I have explored the Zillow route. I don't do Zillow leads. However, I've explored it. And when I explored it, this was something that came up in the background that I was sending my other colleagues. I'm like, isn't this a kickback? Is this? And basically the whole thing in regards to it was them saying, if you use the program, we will give you leads according to you being able to make sure that these leads go through Zillow Home Loans. If they don't go through Zillow Home Loans, you will then get less leads. So it's almost like I'm punishing you if you don't source people to our home loan team. When I'm like, in reality, a buyer should have the choice to be able to shop as many different lenders as they want to be able to find the right mortgage or the right product or the right interest rates or whatever that works for them. Just like the same way people always talk about, you need to, shop different realtors, you need to interview different realtors, have conversations with different realtors. And nobody ever talks about the loan part. Everybody forget that loan, like lenders, I love everybody that does real estate, especially if you do a good job and you do right by people. But at the end of the day, lenders are salespeople as well. Outside of just financing it, they also are trying to get business so that they can get that origination and get that money. So, and this is the back side. Most people will hit on the realtor and they'll slap us on the wrist several times over and over again, but no one ever hits on the lender. No one ever hits on the back channels of everything else that's going on. And so, unfortunately, it's sad, but it's not really sad. It's sad that this is coming to light. But at the end of the day, if we want to create a transparent aspect as far as what people want, and that's what they should have, especially in the biggest purchase of their life, then this has to be unveiled. It says agents who sent more clients to Zillow's mortgage arm were rewarded with extra or higher quality leads, like we mentioned earlier, while those who didn't could lose access to the lucrative Flex program and the filing claims. Buyers, meanwhile, were allegedly steered towards Zillow Home Loans without realizing their agent's business depended on it. Exactly. The complaint states that Zillow's system harms consumers who are robbed of the disinterested advice of their fiduciary real estate agent and instead are unknowingly steered towards Zillow Home Loans Limited and often uncompetitive mortgage products. It says how the super app strategy ties in. The filing connects the alleged conduct to Zillow's border growth strategy, citing its February 2025 investor materials that described a housing super app designed to capture every stage of the home buying journey on a single platform. I never heard of the super app, so I don't know about this. So this is I'm finding this out as you guys are finding this out. So, but about a super app, I don't know about a super app. David said the attorneys who work for Zillow probably have no problem buying a home. They have plenty of work. Exactly, right? They have plenty of work. They're going to be in lawsuits dang near for the rest of their life, the way Zillow keeps getting sued. Every couple days Zillow is sued. I feel like a lawsuit with Zillow comes up every other day. That's why I said I don't want to keep whacking, creating lives that just focus on Zillow. That's why I was like, let me kind of throw this into this live as far as us talking real estate. That's why I said in real estate chaos, because I don't want Zillow to be like, oh my God, is this boy attacking us? Is this realtor coming after us? Because every daggone live or everything he's talking about is about Zillow and this and this and this. David said, never heard of the super app. Yeah, I never heard of the super app. So this is something interesting that I'm finding out at the same time as I'm having a conversation with you guys on this live. It says, when the company released its Q2 earnings in August, CEO Jeremy Waxman told Real Estate News that Zillow's growth is being fueled by bundling services and capturing more of each customer's transaction. About 27% of buyers connected with enhanced market partnered agents referred by Zillow relationships that often lead to ZHL, which is the Zillow Home Loans, Waxman said. He added that the company plans to raise that share to 35% by end of 2025, eventually 75% as it builds out its super app experience. The Real Estate News has reached out to Zillow and will update the story with their response. And then it says right here, who's behind the lawsuit? It says plaintiff Abra, I think it's Arabra, I hope I'm saying that right, Armstrong, a first-time homebuyer from Anchorage, Alaska, says she was connected with an agent through Zillow's platform and at the agent's direction obtaining mortgage pre-approval and subsequently a mortgage loan from Zillow Home Loans. The complainant adds that she was not informed to Zillow's quotas, incentives, or requirements, linking the agent's access to Zillow leads to referrals or pre-approvals with Zillow Home Loan. The case was filed by Tousley, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Brain Stevens, PLLC. So that's talking about who filed the case. And then this kind of goes more into the whole thing about how they have the other case in regards to the 40% commission with right here. It says that blah, 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 blah. It says which charges partner agents up to 40%. So it's kind of saying like how these different Zillow cases and different things like that as far as these kickbacks. And so it's a lot going on, you guys. There's a lot of mayhem going on in real estate. MH08 said, I'm done with phone apps. You said no more phone apps, MH08. He said, I'm done. Put it down. No more phone apps. All right. So now let's kind of get into, if you guys don't know, well, you might not know, but down here in the Metro Atlanta area, there has been several things going on with new construction. New construction more in the sense of these smaller builders in regards to this particular circumstance. We have, of course, bigger builders that are going through their situation too, D.R. Horton and different things like that. We discussed that before. But these smaller builders down here have been building homes and been leaving the scene and putting these home buyers in a situation where they are now getting liens against their properties, and some of them are being foreclosed on because some of these some of the contractors who were doing the work on these new builds were they said they did not get paid to do such work, and with them not getting paid, they put a mechanic lien on the new builds, the different properties. They put a mechanic lien on the properties, and with them putting a mechanic lien on the properties, it basically has the homeowners in a situation where they are looking at possible foreclosure. So let's look at this news report real quick, and then we'll discuss this one, and then we'll discuss another one that's happening in the area. So
Newton County moved into brand new homes only to find out their property already had several liens on it. Channel 2 investigative reporter Ashley Lincoln is in Newton County with how homeowners can protect themselves from this situation.
We really wanted this house, and we love this house.
But now most of Rachel Bradford's family's belongings are back in boxes.
A nightmare, an absolute nightmare.
Just weeks after moving in, Bradford learned liens have been placed on her property.
If he won't pay for the people that actually work for him, what is he going to do to my family and I? How is he going to screw us over?
She's talking about Sohail Chowdhury, the owner of Riz Communities, the company that built these houses. Other homeowners told Channel 2 they're also dealing with liens. Some were even hit with foreclosure notices.
He took out mortgages. There's liens on people's homes.
Homeowners say these liens were placed on these properties by contractors who say they weren't paid for installing blinds, the floors, appliances, and electricity.
It's insane.
So these homeowners are dealing with liens against their properties that could unfortunately put them into a foreclosure situation. Some of them are receiving foreclosure notices. The builder, as stated, did not, according to the contractors, did not pay for said work being done. And so they put mechanic liens against the property.
I went by the office listed for Riz Communities. No one would let us inside, even after waiting 10 minutes.
We were hoping to get a statement.
The owner eventually spoke to me through the doorbell system, saying he was aware of the liens and had paid them off.
When we closed on the property, there was no lien. There was an internal issue with a few of our vendors, and we actually taken care of that. And we actually called those homeowners and told them that give us about over 14 to 21 days.
Bradford says what adds to her stress is knowing more than $200,000 of her money is still in escrow.
That's all the money I have.
She says the builder pressured her to move in at a lower rate with no title insurance and before she signed any closing documents. Now she's asking the closing attorney to terminate the escrow agreement.
Why did he even reduce the price on the house in the beginning of the first place? Why? Because there's liens on it and he wants to get rid of it.
So that is a situation that is happening down here, and it's not just in Newton County. We have another article that I'll pull up. David said, yikes. Yes, yikes is an understatement. It sucks, and especially in this time, as far as the unaffordability levels that we discussed earlier, the high price points that we discussed earlier, to buy a house and to only find out months later that you are facing foreclosure or there's liens against the property. He said, did she have an agent? I'm not sure if she had an agent, David. And so now it just makes, I would say the buyer, if you're a buyer, if you're not buying, if you do not have an agent that you're working with, and I'm not just saying any agent, right? You have to have an agent that is that does a lot of due diligence, that does search, the back part of it. Because just because you have an agent sometimes doesn't mean that they're also doing a great job representing you too, right? But we definitely want you to make sure you have one. But you want to make sure you have one that's very, observant, kind of making sure they're looking on the backhand, to make sure they pick up anything. And for him to even be this builder to even be taking out loans against the property to satisfy the liens that were placed on the properties, which is crazy. I'm like, how is this man taking loans out against the property? Is it not transferred over yet into their names that you are taking, that is still in your name or your company's name, that you're able to pull out a loan against the property? It's just, whew. Well, I'll tell you what's happening right now is crazy. David said she probably did not even understand what she agreed to. Exactly. I don't think she understood what she agreed to. I think she, again, see what happens is that, this is what I tell people too. You never want to do stuff under pressure, under duress, or anything, right? If you feel like you can't get it done within a certain period of time, if you feel like you're being pressured, if you feel like you're just doing stuff out of desperation, then that's when you have to tell yourself, slow down. Like I've done it before for myself where I've done things out of desperation and it didn't work out for me. So you have to tell yourself, slow down, right? Take it in, see what's happening. It doesn't make sense to get yourself in a situation that might not be the best for you, right? So again, another situation happened here in regards to something similar. It says the Metro Atlanta new homeowners shocked by liens against their brand new properties. So that particular one we saw, that was in Newton County. This one is in Austell. So this is in Cobb County. Homeowners in Austell purchased brand new homes only to find out their properties already had several liens filed against them. The CEO of Atlanta-based company is facing more than 1,000 liens and legal actions. Channel 2 investigator Alicia Lincoln has worked towards blah, 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 blah. Let's go down here. Let's read more so we can get into this right here. It says there should be some type of class action lawsuit or some type of investigation into this person. Fredson? I think I'm saying it right. Said Fredson is the latest homeowner to reach out to Channel 2. So this is another homeowner after discovering more than $17,000 in liens are filed against an Austell rental property he owns. He says, I was like, wow, this is insane, he said. Fredson's liens were tied to the developer, again, the same gentleman, Ritz Communities. So that was the same one who did the properties down in Newnan, for not paying contractors who worked on or supplied appliances for the Austell development. So it seems like it's the thing, he has the same trend in regards to him not paying the contractors for, like they said, the blinds, the cabinetry, any type of things, those additional appliances they supplied. It seems like this, he's not paying them. It says, this shouldn't be on me. I bought a brand new property. It's a new construction, Fredson said. Since then, the company has taken down its website and stopped posting on social media. So this is another thing, right? These companies, they feel like, okay, well, now I can just claim bankruptcy, or now I can just shut down my website, or now I can just turn the numbers off. You can't get in contact with me. Meanwhile, it's like, what ramification is going to happen to these people? Like, how is it fair that someone purchases something under the sense of it's supposed to have a CO, which is a certificate of occupancy, for them to move into, and then also even during the process of closing on the house, when title is pulled, how are they not seeing these liens? Like, how are the lawyers, like down here in Georgia, we have to close with closing attorneys. How are the lawyers not seeing the liens? The only way I can say that they might not be seeing these liens is if these liens are being placed on after the closing happens. I don't know, because I don't understand. During pulling the title and doing all that research, you should be able to see the liens put. Like, I had a client that I was working with, and they had a lien against their property through an HOA. The closing attorney, and we knew about it, and we discussed that already. And I had told the client that, you're not going to be able to sell this property unless that lien is paid off. And they were like, okay, no problem. We'll just pay it off at closing. It'll just come out of some of the funds I get from when I close on the house. I said, okay, just want you to know that that is a lien against your property. We reached out to the HOA. The HOA in turn connected us with, they had a company, like a collections company for the HOA, which is crazy, in regards to that lien. And then we got in contact with that lawyer over there in their company, and they requested that we send documentation over stating that they were selling the house. And then when we sent the information into the closing attorney, of course, saw that there was a lien, and they pulled stuff. So I don't even know how these liens are. The only thing I can say is that it has to be placed against the property after, or I don't know, because how are they not pulling it during the title search? David said that happened in our market before the great financial crash. Wow. Okay. So they had builders that were kind of, I guess the subcontractors were putting these liens against properties, which would make sense, because if you financially, you don't have no funds or no money to give, the only other ramification for them to hopefully see some type of income would be to put that mechanic lien in when it sells. You know, of course, they're not going to be in first position because who's always in first position is the mortgagor. You know, they're the first position holder in regards to that payoff, but they figure, you know, we'll be in second position, third position, whatever position they need to be in to make sure that they get their payoff. So they put those mechanic liens against the property. He said, good question. Lang, hey, what's going on, Lang? Can liens be placed on houses without letting the homeowners know? Yeah, liens can be placed on houses. Typically what happens is, like in this situation, these subcontractors, they went down to the local county, probably building. That's what happens. You go down, you file it. And with the county, sometimes you might get notified, sometimes you might not. So you might not know there's a lien against your property until you go to sell it. It just depends. But they definitely could be placed on your house. So and that's even happening with a company that our brokerage was working with, where the people were thinking they had a whole program where it was like, hey, you can give us, we'll come in, we'll make some repairs before you try to sell your house, and then you can pay us at closing the money that we put into fixing your house up once you close. Some of these sellers decided that they loved with the work that was done, and they were like, I'm not selling. And so that company in turn was like, okay, well, if you're not selling, I'm going to put a mechanic lien against your house because there was work done and we did $5,000 worth of work, $10,000 worth of work, and we want our money. So when you sell that house in the future, we will get our money back. Sometimes there could possibly be medical liens against your property. It could be several different liens against your property. So David said there was one builder who committed fraud and then he self-deleted himself. Wow. So you in turn committed the fraud, put everyone else in pain, and then you just took yourself out so you wouldn't worry about the pain you put everybody else in. That, you know, and sometimes it's just the selfishness of other people. They don't care. Some people are just here, unfortunately, they just want to make money, and they don't care about the other people around them. It says Rachel Bradford owns a home in Covington. She learned about liens after receiving a foreclosure notice, unpaid balance that says she didn't owe. It's insane, Bradford said. Since I think this is this lady right here. Since 2003, nearly 300 liens or pending legal actions have been filed against Ritz Communities properties, according to Georgia Clerks Authority. So that's another thing too. If you know you guys are getting all these filings against this one particular small new construction developer, if you're getting all these filings, when do we take action before this happens to more people? This outside of just the new construction part of it all, we have to take recourse in the sense of, when does the legal part get kind of slapped in the face too, where it's like, okay, if you have all these filings and you and all these liens placed and these people telling you that's not their faults or all these different things happening, when do we go back and we look at the source that has all these filings happening against them? And before, it's almost like it's like you want to go and take action before there's so much damage that happens. And unfortunately, what I notice happens sometimes is that we allow so much other chaos and damage to happen in every entity, in every part of any situation, before we get to the part of like, okay, now we got to solve it. If we saw this happening in the beginning, why didn't we solve it in the beginning? Why are we waiting for 300 people to have liens against their properties or pending legal actions? It's crazy. David said, maybe do a Google search of the builder before signing. I agree, David. Do a Google search. Maybe ask people. What I do with people too, which they think is funny. I'm like, if you're about to move into a building or if you're about to move into a house, if you have a next door neighbor, knock on the door next door. Knock on the door. Ask them questions. Hey, how you doing? My name is blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking about moving in this area. How long have you been in this area? Can you tell me what this area is like? Can you tell me the turnover? Can you tell me this? You would be surprised Even when I do open houses and I'm going to I'll go to the next door neighbors, let them know I'm here today. I'm doing an open house. I would love for you to tell me any insight about this community or this neighborhood that I don't know. Because again, I don't live in this neighborhood. I don't live in this area. I don't know anything about it outside of, the city, the roads per se, where my favorite restaurant might be at. But I don't live in every neighborhood in America, So, but the people who live in there can tell you more about their neighborhood. So actually go knock on the door and ask questions, because you can find out so much. I remember one time I was doing an open house at a condo building, and I knocked downstairs, and it was a older lady, and she told me so much stuff. She's like, also they just recently replaced the wood for the railings, and they just did this and did this. And a gentleman came in and he was asking all these questions. He asked about like the railings and all that stuff, and I knew all the information because I asked the young lady who lived in the building. So definitely do, like David said, definitely do some Google searching before signing with a builder. Definitely ask people who live in the community questions, because you might, you could go into a community and these people could be like, well, this is this about this builder, It says Lincoln found Ritz also operates under entities Buy-Side Capital, Prestigious Group. State records show more than 800 liens filed in several metro Atlanta counties. 800. Real estate attorney Aaron Glenn says homeowners should never move in without an occupancy permit, which we stated earlier. We stated, how did they not have a CO? And then it says, or title insurance. Another thing, you definitely want to get title insurance as well. But again, that brings me back to the question, how did this pass a closing? Because the title search should have picked up on the liens and should sign up for the state alert system to monitor liens. It's very much buyer beware. You could definitely get yourself into trouble. Yes, we all know Georgia, and I said it plenty of times in these lives and even in some of the videos I made, that Georgia is a buyer beware state. There are several states that are buyer beware states. You guys have to be aware in regards to buying. And outside of just working with your realtor, you should also do your due diligence, because as we all know, we're human beings, right? Sometimes we miss things in life. We're human beings. Just like when people build stuff, sometimes people miss things in life. So it's always great to have somebody go behind you, somebody to double check for you, right? Definitely want to make sure you have a person that's there for you outside of you doing your due diligence as well. David said, and maybe they should call Devon. Yeah, they could give me a call at 678-995-3170. They definitely could. They could give me a call, David. If they need any advice, any assistance in Georgia, Metro Atlanta area, I'm okay. People call me all the time, even people that don't live here. I think I've told this story several times, that'll reach out to me in regards to real estate. A friend that I helped out in North Carolina reached out to me in real estate. Another friend in South Carolina, a friend in LA, and just doing some back digging from what I can see on my end, or just, verifying things on my end. Also a family member that's trying to do something right now in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania reached out to me in purposes of someone who just passed away. So it's, you can definitely reach out to David Matney. He's in Omaha, Nebraska as well. Reach out to agents, to realtors that you can have that conversation with, and you can ask them questions and you can verify stuff, right? So definitely David, they can reach out to you in Omaha, Jackie in Jersey, Jen in Massachusetts, Christina in Louisiana. Have so many wonderful agents that are giving you so much information online nowadays. Joe Pareca in California, have so many wonderful agents that you guys should just reach out to. And don't, I think a lot of people are scared to reach out to agents because they feel like, oh, they're just going to try to sell me, or they're just going to try to get me into buying a house. It's like, no, if you have genuine questions, ask somebody that's a professional in the area. Just like how you sit down, if you feel something a matter with your heart, or if you feel something's a matter medically with yourself, you're going to go and ask a doctor, ask a professional in that area. That's all we're saying, David said, thank you. No problem, David. No problem. Anytime. I appreciate you. MHOA, Christina's moving. Yes, I heard she's moving to Pennsylvania, to Pittsburgh. Yes, she is. Her and Eddie and her two daughters, they are relocating to Pennsylvania, to Pittsburgh. So she is going to be in the process of selling her house, and I know she's selling some of her rental units at the moment. Yes, Christina is relocating. She wants to be closer to the parents and all that stuff. So, which makes sense. You know, people are getting older. It makes sense. So, yeah. So this is all in regards to this. So the company is called. If you guys heard of this company, if you're a part of this company, it's called Rich. Said the sad thing about this whole thing is that there are other homeowners with liens on their properties, and a lot of people cannot afford to pay an extra $10,000 for something they had nothing to do with. So yes, that is the sad thing. So this is what I kind of wanted to bring you guys attention to today in regards to new construction. I know I have some friends that are in the new construction sales field, so they probably jumped on here tonight, or they might, you know, come back and watch this. Like, is he trying to stop our business? I tell people I don't stop no one's business. I just break down the reality of real estate, and people make their own informative decisions. I can't stop. I can't change no one's mind. I can't impact nobody in that capacity. I can just give information, and then you can lay out the data and from what you see in front of you, right? So it's going to be very, very interesting in regards to what's happening in the new construction. So I tell people going forward, this is what I would suggest you do. If you are buying a new construction home, particularly with a smaller builder, first you want to utilize, like David said earlier, try to find you guys a good real estate agent on the buyer side. Do not get stuck into the situation where you think that I don't need the agent, I'll go to the sales agent. Again, we said this many times on these platforms that the sales agent works for the builder. That is their client. They don't owe you a fiduciary responsibility. They owe their client one. And so when you have your own agent, they owe you responsibility to make sure they look out for you, be transparent to you, be open and honest with you, and hold that fiduciary responsibility towards you in your transaction, right? And then on top of that, you want to make sure outside of just your agent, even if you hired the best agent in the books, the best one that everybody's telling you wonderful things about, we are human beings. We miss things, right? We might be tired. We might be going through a stressful situation. Things might be happening in our lives and vice versa for both parties. So you want to make sure you do your due diligence, just like the agent will do their due diligence. And you can always meet up almost like you're sharing, you know, answers to a test and just fact check and to see what you found, right? And so you want to do these different things. Thanks, David. Thank you. He said, great stream. Thanks, Clark. No problem. Thank you. I want to also share your channel real quick so people can know to check you out. So then that way, before we get off here, then I'll hit you guys with these last things and then we'll jump off here. I'm not keeping you guys too long tonight. So David has his channel. I'm gonna show you his channel so you guys can definitely support David. If you haven't gone over there yet, please give David a share. David is on his way to 7,000 subscribers, so definitely go over there. And like MHOA said, yes, give me a thumbs up as well. If you're on this live tonight, please hit us with a thumbs up. It helps to push this stream through the algorithm some more, so people can hear our, our chats and our conversations in regards to real estate. Head over to David's channel, living in Omaha. David Matney, wonderful, wonderful realtor, wonderful person in general. He has a live coming up this Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It says, don't end up in real estate jail. NREC director reveals the top agent mistakes. So if you're watching on, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time is my time. So base that off of whatever time zone you're in, but definitely go over there and give David a view, a subscribe, a like, hit that notification bell. He always has great content over there, great conversations, great guests. I gotta get my guests up like David. Wonderful guests. Last one, I believe he had an appraiser on there. Was it an appraiser? I think it was an appraiser, David. Great information, just great information. David said, be sure to give the stream a thumbs up. Yes, give us a thumbs up, please. I appreciate everybody. David has great guests. Yes, MHOA, he has wonderful guests. I love it. Lang said, great show, excellent information. Thank you all for showing up and participating. Have a great week. Yes, everyone have a great week. Have a wonderful week. I almost want to buy land in the Sand Hills. Okay, I don't know what the Sand Hills is, so I'm guessing that's in Omaha. I don't know. And I don't know about the Sandhills. I don't know anything about the Sandhills. So don't give me the lying. I don't know anything about Sandhills. So I'm guessing that's in Omaha, Nebraska. Oh, thank you, David. I appreciate your support. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your support. I appreciate everybody being here every Sunday live. I apologize for missing last Sunday. Sometimes you need a break. Things happen. You burn out. A lot going on. So I just needed a break. You know, I have a lot going on now too, but just want to jump on here and make sure you guys know that I'm here to have conversation with you in this community. And I don't want to, you know, leave you guys without having a wonderful real estate conversation. Okay, David said Sandhills is in Western Nebraska. Okay, yeah, I was like, I don't know no Sandhills in Metro Atlanta. But all right, thank you guys again for coming on Sunday. I will see you guys next Sunday. I will not be, I will be gone, so we'll be streaming live, and we won't be able to share these type of screens. So we'll just be having a live chat as usual because I won't be at my physical desktop computer. So next Sunday we will be live, but we will be having a live where it would just be face-to-face conversation like we did last time I was out of town. So everybody have a wonderful night, wonderful week. Take care. And if I don't see you next Sunday, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I will talk to you guys soon. Good night. Good night, David. Have a good night. Good night, everybody. Take care.